If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest update.
All right, let's get started, guys. Happy Monday, and thanks for joining in. What I'll do is talk about high-level recap of session 1, and then we'll go through the session 2. Additionally, I am working on your tenant access, which is the system access. So most likely by today or tomorrow, you will receive the tenant access as well, so that you can try out hands on certain activities and everything, right? So that's the plan. But before starting, do you guys have any questions or any suggestions based on the session 1? Anything you want me to focus again, or anything in your mind? If you guys can hear me, can you acknowledge and confirm?
Hi Raj, this is Ashu.
Yeah, Ashu, thanks for confirming. So let's get started, and what I'll do is I'll talk about very high level about the things which we covered in the previous session, right? Reason being, I want it to be connected, right? And I'll go through it very quickly. The reason being, everything is interconnected from a systems perspective, and I'll show you how exactly it looks like, in terms of the connections between every uh, concept or every module in Workday, right? So one of the things which I'll do is make sure the connection happens, so that we'll go through them again and then get started. So probably first 15 or 5-10 minutes we'll talk about the initial first session, and then we'll go through our module 2. I'm just sharing my screen. You should be able to see by now, and that's it. All right, hope you guys can see the screen. This is the same slides which we covered in the first session, Workday HCM basic overview. So what we did was talk about supervisory organizations. What is the meaning of supervisory organizations, right? What are different staffing models? Staffing models are nothing but how do we hire people, right? Different ways of hiring. In Workday, there is position management and job management. We talked about job profiles. What is the meaning of job profile, right? Someone joining as a store manager, that job profile would be different from someone working in the accounts department, right? So each job profile is very unique, but it talks about very generic features of a specific job. So one more example to that would be the job profile can be store manager, but someone can join as at a junior level as well as senior level. The job profiles can be same or different depending on how these are defined. So someone joining in as an intern or the store assistant might have similar job profile to that of store manager, but there could be certain deviations. So how it is defined from the company level, it can vary as well, right? They might say the same things are applicable, but the experience level might be different, or they can have an additional job profile as well, which is having additional elevated requirements, right? So that's pretty much it in terms of supervisory organization, staffing models, and job profiles, right? We did talk about Workday HCM as a whole, how exactly this product is, what is the market of Workday HCM versus other competitors, why Workday HCM is unique as well, right? So we covered all that. We did talk about little bit about security. What is the meaning of security? What is the meaning of compensation? What is the meaning of business process, right? So we talked about what is the meaning of access, right? Someone having a security to do some transaction versus someone having not having the transaction capability, right? So the difference between them would be a security group, right? Someone having the capability to look at everyone's compensation in the organization, everyone's salary in the organization, versus you not having the access, right? So the difference between you and that person would be most likely a security group, where that person is a payroll person. So that's where he or she got a payroll security group, versus you being an end user, you didn't get, right? So that variation is there as well in terms of security. In terms of business processes, right? We talked about high level. What is the meaning of a sequence of events, right? What is the meaning of a transaction being initiated, right? So that's also we covered a little bit, that what is the meaning of business process in Workday in general, right? Finally, we did talk about compensation. What is the meaning of in general compensation, right? Someone at $150,000, what is the breakup of that, right? How much is the fixed, how much is the variable, how much is in the car allowances and all those things, right? So that is high level in compensation, right? One good thing again, this one was a more of a recap from the last time. Again, everything is kind of stored in business objects, right? Organizations, worker position. So if you want to access something, everything is in a business object in Workday. So that's the good part and beauty, that everything and anything which you want to extract surely talks about the business process side of things and business objects, right? We did cover very high level about the connections between worker and positions, how exactly a person is connected to different areas. That also we did cover. This is again available in your slides, which is available in your LMS, right? And then we talked about high level navigation of Workday system, right? So these were the concepts which we did cover last time. And from the first session, I believe high level we did talk about the first session in the demo session as well, and in general about Workday. So right now, if I tell you from a takeaway perspective, what we should know about certain things, and I've stopped sharing right now, is to understand till now what we know is what is Workday, very high level. What is the meaning of supervisory organizations? What is the meaning of business processes? you know what is the meaning of in general anything with respect to Workday modules, right? Different modules are there, and how exactly the navigation looks like, very high level. Nothing else is expected as of now. But if you guys have access to LMS, if you remember, if you can, uh, I would like to go through that and talk about certain things. And let me share my screen again. So if you have your so one or two things which I want everyone to look at is discussion board as well as materials. So we'll surely talk about that. Let me share my screen. I'm just going through LMS right now. You guys can see the screen by now. Yeah, so if you have access to your LMS, right? If you see, so there is a discussion board here, right? So I would request everyone to go through this discussion board, and in this one, go, if you can see this menu, subscribe to page changes, right? Just get that enabled. Just click on that so that you are aware of any changes. For example, if I want to communicate something to you guys, right, probably give you tenant link and everything. So discussion board is the area where you will find out any update, right? So if you go to your LMS and get this updated, you will receive email notifications of any changes which I'm, or any communication which I'll be doing in the discussion board. Okay. So one of the take action items for you guys is to look at the uh, page changes and get that enabled. And I'll be posting out certain things for you guys, during the session. You should be aware of this one, and that's the plan, right? So we'll communicate using this one, whatever is required. Mostly I'll be communicating, but if you have something which cannot wait for the next session, surely you can post here as well. You will get the tenant links as well here, the login ID and password for you to test out certain things, right? Just going through LMS so that you are aware of it. We do have all the materials in here. So if you remember, we have already covered the module 1. There are lab activities which I'll cover. Very high level, these lab activities are very basic in nature, but I would like you guys to go through it as well so that you understand certain things. Because if I kind of give everything as a solution, then there would be not any push from your side. So what I'll do is combine module 1 and module 2 and then talk about assignment and assessments, right? These are again very optional. Let me open one for you guys and show you how it looks like. Let me open one more lab activity for you. So if you see here, business case search and navigation, you can search certain activities, and these are very straightforward. These are more of a understanding kind of a thing, right? You log in as the person, you enter, search something in the search box, if you remember, right? How exactly it looks like, how many prefixes are there, how many outputs are there, those all things you have to just experience that how exactly this is working, right? So I'll talk about it in detail, don't worry too much. And this one is more of a kind of MCQ kind of a thing, where you can just think about certain options. These options might be right, might not be right. Mostly these are right, but I would like to talk about understanding from you guys as well in the couple of sessions, right? So what exactly certain things mean, and as soon as you explore more, you will understand what is the meaning behind it, right? So if you see here, which of the following option provides an easy access to key areas of Workday, right? So is it sitemap? Is it favorites? Is it audit? Is it worker profile? Those kind of things. Just think about it. I don't want you to get an answer right now. You don't have to worry too much. But probably these are more focused towards interviews and in general, very high level, just checking your understanding. Because interviews, no one would be asking you, okay, what is the meaning of archive tab or actions tab, right? These won't be the questions people will be asking you in interviews or in the market, right? But these are good for your understanding in terms of how exactly you're understanding the concepts behind it, right? So don't worry too much as of now. What I'll do is complete module 2 as well, and then we will look at these activities together as well, right? So that's the plan. In LMS, you'll have all the materials available, like I said. The video recordings would also be there. So I believe the previous recording should be ready, right? If you see here, there are demo sessions, then the intro session, as well as the first session, which we had last time. The recordings are there for you guys to go through it, right? Right now, what we'll do is cover module 2 very high level, which is talking about supervisory organizations, right? What is the meaning of organizations? What is the meaning of supervisory organizations and all that, right? So let's get that started. I'm just clicking on slideshow, and you guys should be able to see the slideshow version of the slides now. So till now, what we have very high level covered about certain basic things in Workday, right? Now we are going very specific, which is the foundation, right? In general, if someone tells you that what is the foundation of any ERP structure, any ERP solution, any HCM solution, right? Any HCM application, custom or Workday provided, or any other uh, solution like SAP HCM, SuccessFactors, or anyone, organization serves as the base, as the foundation, right? So there are two things which are always a base of any HR solution. First one is organization, and the second one is the people itself, right? Imagine that you need to run an office, right? You are having a company, right? One of the initial things which you want is, and let's take that you are looking for a physical office. You want to start a store similar to Walmart, right? Big store, Best Buy, whatever, right? The first thing is to secure the area or the place. You are not online, you are physical store, right? Your Target, Walmart, whatever, and you need to have a physical presence in a certain location to have two things. One is to have your people as well coming in, and the second one having you know just a second, I just got a chat. What is ERP? That's a good question. I'll cover that, and let me cover this one, and then we'll talk about that. Yeah. So I was telling, if you want to start any office, you need to have office space, right? And the office space technically in HR tech solution side of things is uh, you know an organization where people will be having a hierarchy, right? And there would be a sequence to things. There would be a an area for people to join, and there would be someone reporting to it, right? The overall hierarchy, right? Let's think from bottom to top, or star, from the top to bottom. Imagine that you are the CEO of your organization, right? uh, below you there would be certain people in key positions, and under them there would be a lot of managers, right? So overall sequence of hierarchy is surely what an organization hierarchy or organization, right? People should be having an area to fit in, an area to join, right? Now coming to the generic question, for those of you who are not aware, ERP again is enterprise resource planning, and I can share a link with you guys. Enterprise resource planning is a very generic term, right? ERP in general, anything and everything which company is using for what? For managing their business is called an ERP. For example, someone having a store, right? They might be using certain ERPs or certain solutions to manage the overall inventory, to manage overall customers, to manage overall customers. CRM is also an ERP, customer relationship management. Workday HCM is also an ERP, which is managing HR side of things. Then we have certain solutions like materials management, right? An organization or a factory might be using materials management as well. So enterprise resource planning is, anyways, a very generic term. In general, it stands for enterprise resource planning, and the meaning is, it is primarily a software used for managing, a lot of things in the business, anything and everything related to business, but primarily related to finance, supply chain, operations, HCM, anything which is strategic to the organization. So that's the term ERP. And in that umbrella term, under HR ERP, Workday is one of the solutions, right? So company might have certain activities. So your company, for example, let's talk about Walmart. Walmart might be using Workday ERPs, which they are obviously for their management of different workers, right? Different HR solutions. But they might be using customer relationship management for what? For their customers. They might be using Oracle Finance for managing their finance. They might be using SAP materials management to manage what? The overall inventory which come in Walmart, right? So ERP is that term. Hope that clarifies. So in general, in the Workday space, these are again, right now everything is a SaaS based application, software as a service. Again, going to a very generic level, again, SaaS is nothing but software as a service, for those of you who don't know. Now ERPs initially required a database to be there, or a management to be there, a software database to be connected, and management was required. Right now every application or most of the applications in the market are software as a service, right? Where you don't have to worry about database, you just have to have a connection in between. You just buy your subscription from the organization, and then you are ready to use it using your browser or any other remote application, right? So you don't have to worry about database management, you don't have to worry about spacing and all those things like we have in Workday, right? You just need to have a web browser with the right access, with the right login ID and password, with the right contract between you as an organization and Workday, and then everything is taken care of, right? So that is SaaS, and we'll cover that. I'll probably share certain links with you guys as well about these generic terms in the industry, right? Right now, what we'll talk about is organizations. Now, organizations again is a specific term primarily used in HR technology space and in Workday as well, right? So organization overview we'll talk about supervisory organization, features of supervisory organizations, how to create supervisory organization, right? How do you assign certain rules? What is the meaning of cost center? What is the meaning of location? And what is the meaning of staffing models, right? So let's think about every topic right now, right? Don't worry about the slides. I'm like, slides are there, but I want your understanding to be there, and let me stop sharing for the time being, because I want your attention as well about each and every topic right here. I've stopped sharing as of now, but I will talk about each and every concept as of now, right? So organization overview, right? What is yeah, Vijay, go ahead.
Sorry for the interrupting.
No worries.
See, each and everything is whatever you are using new words, right? Like ERP, like that, everything. So we don't know any, I don't know anything.
Sure.
And whatever now you are going to discuss about whatever you showed me the agenda. So
Mhm.
can you take a real time scenario and show me um, the slides sharing? That is the
Sure. That's the plan, and that's why I
understanding
stopped. Yeah. I do
thing.
understand. See, uh, I have to tailor made our training because obviously I do understand not everyone is having the experience behind it, and that's where I stopped sharing. We'll talk about certain generic things as of now. That's why we are talking about very high level organizations. I won't deep dive into the concepts again. That's my objective as well. So organizations, and let me explain that, and hopefully that would be a good understanding for everyone. So like I told, imagine that we all are starting an organization, right? We are starting similar organization as that of Walmart. Just a second, guys. So yeah, we are starting an organization similar to Walmart, right? And let's say we want to start it only in California, probably uh, Dublin, Pleasanton, whatever you like, any area, pick and choose in that area. And now for that, right, what we should have is, so before thinking about organization, right, we need to have an office space as well, and we need to have a store area as well, right? So anything which is related to physical presence or hierarchy and store area is coming under the organization side of things, right? It talks about, it is related to organization, right? Let's talk about that again. Our physical location. What is location? Location is just an address, right? So from a system perspective, we need to identify what is the best location for us, right? We are starting to build a store and start a store. We need to have a physical location as well, right, of our office. And what we are saying is our registered office will be same as our store office. We don't want to go fancy. We can have a store similar to Patel Brothers in the starting, very specific, small one, but having limited SKUs, right? So location is something which we need to think of, that where exactly we are operational, right? That's number one. So location in general comes under our overall structure, right? Then the second thing is, we all are in the team, right? We all are in the company, right? So let's say we decide, okay, Siva or Vijaya is the CEO of our organization, right? So you both can be CEO or CTO, right? You guys have decided, you have conceptualized the process. Someone in us is the CEO, and below the CEO there are different important roles. So for example, Rishabh being having experience in the store side of things, we might tell him he's the operations manager, right? Rishabh will take care of overall operations. So under Siva, under the CEO, Rishabh can be playing the role of operations manager, right? Someone can be playing a role of CTO, right? Ashu can be playing the role of head HR, right? So everyone is in a hierarchy where there is someone called the head of the organization, in general what we call a CEO. Below that there are different roles, and under that as well there are different roles. Again, how exactly different roles come into the picture? So under Rishabh knows that in the industry there we need to have smart people under him. He knows certain contacts, and he decides under him there should be at least 3 store managers, right, who take care of every activity, because we need to run the shop 24/7, you know. So there should be 3 store managers, and under 3 store managers there could be 5-6 people. There could be few interns as well. So what exactly I'm talking about is the overall hierarchy, right? The hierarchy of the overall company is called supervisory organization. What is supervisory organization? It is just the place exactly where people will be getting hired, technically from a structure perspective. Let me explain that again. There would be a CEO. Under CEO there are different key roles where we all sit in. Under us, there would be certain team openings, right? And under Rishabh's team. So Rishabh team can be an operations team, right? And below operations team or operations strategic team where Rishabh is sitting and someone else might be sitting, there would be certain additional supervisory organizations like store manager department or, optimization department or inventory department, whatever. So those departments and those structures are actually supervisory organizations. And the collection of all these supervisory organizations talk about hierarchy, right? So these are nothing but hierarchy. And I'll show you in the system how exactly it looks like, right? From a hierarchy perspective, that there would be one person reporting to some other person, there would be another person reporting to another person, right? So that is the overall hierarchy kind of a thing where it is a combination of different supervisory organizations. What are supervisory organizations? Supervisory organizations are nothing but an area for people to join. That's it. Technically from a system perspective, it is just as simple as a department, as an office. Manufacturing department, it is technically a supervisory organization. Operations department, HR department, finance department, all these are supervisory organizations, right? So these are that. Now let's talk about certain additional things as well. Right? So let's say our company is doing good, we are expanding, we are doing good, we want to start another store in another place, right? We are good with California, but the taxes are hurting our overall profits, right? California is a high tax zone. We do understand the pain. We all are there in terms of growing. So we decide, okay, let's move to a different state, right? Probably, any other state can be a good place. So we might decide certain additional country or any other location. Let's say we understand, okay, probably UK is a good area to start our second office, right? Second store. We want to go international, not local. Then that would be another location in the overall structure, right? So the location again can be global, can be local, right? We might prefer to start a store in New York, Chicago, right? Or we might prefer to start a new office in Singapore, right? Or any other place, right? So these are different locations. Okay. So let's say that we are expanding in Europe and Asia, right? And we do understand and the need of someone important from those areas who understands the market, right? Because initially as a team, what we decided was we will start a store in California only. But now since we got good profits, we are expanding to a different location, right? So after expanding to a different location, we do understand then there are certain changes required in our team, right? So let's say we understand, okay, there are certain roles which need to be combined together. So initially what we must have decided was Rishabh was taking care of overall store management, right? And let's say I was taking care of supply chain management, right? Anything which is coming into the store, I was taking care of that, talking to different vendors, getting that, delivered, talking to them that we need at least, 10,000 juice boxes in our store. I was talking to those vendors and getting those aligned. So I was directly reporting to Siva, our CEO. Okay. Now, as soon as we expand more, we realized we need to coordinate, and I should be is under close connection with Rishabh. Right. Initially, we were working independently. I was taking care of getting things into the store, and Rishabh was taking care of managing the store. Right. While Ashu might be working in terms of HR policies and Chaitanya might be taking care of finances, right? So everyone is having different roles. But as soon as we expand to different locations, we realize we might have to do certain changes. We understand, we discuss as a team, right? We decide Raj should be reporting or Chaitanya should be reporting to Rishabh. So the team structure is changing now. What we decided was everything should be interconnected. Initially, we were disconnected. Now we all report to Rishabh. So under supply chain team, now we rename the supply chain to overall materials management team or, overall management team, where I am reporting right now to Rishabh. and Chaitanya is also reporting to Rishabh. Initially, we were independent. Now we report to Rishabh, and Rishabh reports to our CEO Siva. So anything from a structure perspective, right? Anyone, any change, any supervisory organization moving from one place to another, right? So in general, that all is covered under organization changes, right? We decide, okay, so what will happen is under me, there could be 10 managers working under me. Initially, I was reporting to Siva. Now we decide I will report to Rishabh, right? So we decide the overall structure of the team, like in real world, and we move certain people, right? So anything from a movement perspective of organization is also a part of overall org hierarchy, right? We can move certain organizations under some other organization, right? So initially I was reporting to CEO office and Siva. Now I'll report to supply chain office, which is Rishabh's team, right? So anything and everything which kind of is related to the sequence of changes from an organization hierarchy perspective is also part of overall things, right? So that's one. Now, so that is one of the concepts, and another concept is something similar to cost centers, right? So for those of you who are not aware about cost centers, again, I'll try to explain. Anything and everything in an organization is kind of tagged to a cost center. Now, how exactly? So we are running a business again, right? Taking the same example, and I'll continue this example while talking about these slides as well. Anything which you do, from managing the store to managing the electricity to paying taxes, to have people expenses covered, to have salaries covered, right? So cost centers are nothing but different entities where your expenses are tagged, right? So for example, let's say, we have an important requirement of, we need to talk to a vendor, we need to talk to a specific vendor, and for that we need to travel from California to China, right? In terms of importing certain things for our store, right? Now, while importing, whatever expenses what we are doing, right? Whatever traveling, flights, hotel bookings, anything and everything is an expense which is covered under a cost center, right? So these are different entities which are linked to your expenses. There could be a similar structure or a different structure, but cost center again is very much specific to your finance management. Your team who's handling finance will take care of cost center management. But in general, since we are learning Workday, it is good to know that how exactly they are also managed. In general, cost centers are nothing but these are areas or departments or organizations to manage your expenses, right? For example, Rishabh's team might have a cost center specific to supply chain management. Ashu's team might have a cost center specific to HR department. So cost center is different from the overall hierarchy of supervisory organizations. Or there might be a case that we just have only one cost center for the whole organization, right? So it varies based on different size and varieties. But that is just to track the expenses or the costs, right? Anything, any person joining is also joining a technically a cost center, right? So whatever expenses we are doing is under their cost center. Anything from a payroll perspective, if they are getting their payroll salary processed on a bi-weekly basis, right? All these fall under cost center. So that is again a concept for you guys, not to worry too much about it, frankly. But you should be aware that what is the meaning of cost center, right? And cost center is nothing but, once we go into the slides, I'll cover more theoretically as well for you guys, that what is the meaning of cost center. So right now, what we have covered till now is we have thought about a store where we have locations, we have hierarchy, we have identified areas for expansion. And let's say we are expanding to a new place, right? What exactly do we need there, right? In terms of expanding, let's get this more of a dialogue so that I kind of understand your perspective as well. So we are already operational in one area. we are going to a new area, right? New office, let's say Texas. We are starting new store in Texas. What could be the key things which we need to consider in terms of opening an office in Texas? Uh, let's have a dialogue to understand that, if you are able to understand from that perspective, right? Anyone from you guys, if you are starting a new office in Texas, what all do we need?
Cost center first thing.
Not call center. See, first thing should be,
Location.
yes. So first
Oh.
basic thing is, we are all sitting in California. We are making good money. Now we want to expand to new location, right? And the first thing for a location is just the location, right? In Texas, where exactly do you want to set up the store? What exactly would be our store address? That is number one, right? The first thing is to understand where exactly do we want to start our store. There should be limited amount of space. The cost should be aligned with us, and it should be an area where people will come and buy, right? It should not be an area which is too far from the city as well. Extremely far or extremely distant area won't help us. Additionally, any area which is too expensive as well won't help us. Let's say we are expanding, we won't have store in the key areas, right? The specific areas which are too expensive to manage. So the first thing is location, right? So we have decided a location. Now what, right? What is the next thing which is coming to your mind in terms of starting a store there? So we have got the
Basic
area.
infrastructure and resources.
Awesome. That's a very good one. So Chaitanya, that's very good. And for every organization, the basic infra, let's say we have got the office, we have all the buildings painted, we have the storehouse, parking lot, everything is done. Second thing is, the overall resources. And for running a store, the key resources, again, human resource for every organization, right? So we need to think of hiring as well, right? So we need to have people from Texas to manage our stores, right? We might be management there. We are very smart and we are managing stuff, but we need people to be in the store in terms of, managing the store, managing the checkout lines, managing the facility. There should be security. So what we need is the resources. What we need is human resources as well, right? So what we'll understand is, in terms of staffing, and staffing is nothing but getting people into our company, right? Hiring people is called staffing in general. So for staffing, we need what? We need people, number one, and we need to decide how exactly we are hiring, right? What is our strategy, right? Are we floating around, are we creating specific positions, or are we keeping it open, right? So in general, anything which is high volume is not having specific positions. Let me explain that. We know that we need 100 people to manage store. Now, I won't be there could be two scenarios to think. We need 100 people to manage store, and there is a basic qualification that you should know English, you should have basic knowledge about certain things, and you should understand certain things, right? Entry level jobs initially won't have certain specific activities or attributes to it. So what I'll do is, since I am expanding pretty fast, what I'll do is I'll do a job management staffing model. And job management is nothing but, you don't create specific positions under managers. You are just keeping it open. As and when you find a candidate which is suitable, you hire that person, right? So job management is nothing but typical walk-in interviews or typical jobs where there is no set number to a job, right? Walmart can expand 100 people. Walmart can absorb 150 people, 200 people, 300 people, 400 people, 500 people, right? They have that much of capacity or that much of need, that where their job management would be wonderful, right? Where you don't have to create certain positions to it, right? Certain specific position where only person would be hired, or you just create a blanket position that anyone who's joining under in Texas will report to Chaitanya and Rishabh, right? By default, that is our assumption. So whoever is joining, we'll by default tell them and automatically in the system that they will be joining under Chaitanya, right? Probably under Chaitanya, there are 5 managers under one of them. And same with Rishabh, right? Or same with Ashu, right? Whoever is joining, we'll take care that person is joining under either of these three. And since the volume is very high, we use job management staffing model. So in Workday, staffing model is nothing but how do we hire people, right? So job management can be a staffing model for hiring those people. Anyways, this we'll cover in future, but just giving you an idea, since this example would be helpful. Now, the second one would be position management. Position management is again a staffing model or a way of hiring people, right? Now, position management in general is used in those organizations where the positions are defined very clearly, and these are very specific positions. Let's talk about that. In our store, our majority of the population, right? Think about Walmart. Walmart, they have 100,000 people or more than that. There would be only specific limited people working in the office of Walmart who manage Walmart activities. Most of the people are contractual or time tracking based individuals who manage the store, right? So these are seasonal kind of jobs where college students come in, where people join the job, or there is no specific opening, right? These are very standard openings where the volume is pretty high. So in those areas, we use job management staffing model. Clear? So anything and everywhere where the volume is pretty high is called job management, right? And wherever the opening is very specific, let's talk about, a close-knit organization, right? Initially, WhatsApp had 30 people, right? If they were hiring people, right, in their team, right? Let's talk about Google. Let's talk about Facebook. These organizations have very limited openings, right? They have very limited areas. There won't be any generic, walk in that, every possible software engineer or every possible person can join in. These openings are very specific and they identify and discuss internally first, and then only take care of that. Let's talk about that. In our organizations, which we were thinking, right, of expanding to Texas, right? The same dummy store which we are planning to expand, right? In that one, if we are hiring anyone in the store, our openings would be unlimited. We are able to absorb that. What we have told is, since we'll expand further to new areas nearby, we are planning two stores in Texas, right? Just nearby each other, right? Just to make sure our brand is very strong in that area, right? We want to be known as strong Texas brand, right? So we won't worry too much about number of openings. We won't worry too much about, how many people are joining. We won't be creating specific positions for that, right? We'll be creating just a generic job management strategy, right? So that would be one. But let's talk about anything which is very specific, right? We are planning to hire a chief financial officer. We understand now we are expanding in different states, and considering state law and considering the federal law, we need to have very good expertise in terms of managing our overall finances. So we are looking for someone who has very strong knowledge of finance, who has very strong knowledge of managing company overall from a finance perspective. And that person comes into the picture. That person would not be joining usually on a job management staffing model. Since that position is very specific, that job profile is very specific, that role is very specific, and that is very strategic in nature. That person would be joining under Seva, our CEO. So that role would be again a position management kind of an approach where we identify, okay, we just need one person to manage and there is only one opening for that person, right? And there could be 1,000 people applying that, but we will just take care of and finally hire one person, right? So that's there. So that is difference between position management and job management. These are anyways ways of hiring people in an organization, right? Now, since we were talking about our example, right, let's go back to that example and talk about one more thing. So we have completed hiring people, right? So there are different people under Rishabh, under Chaitanya, under Ashu, under me, right? And we all have hired the CFO as well. We were not having a CFO initially. Now that CFO team, Vijay is also there, right? Now Vijay and the new CFO is kind of working in terms of planning things. And initially what we did was we were having just one cost center. Was one cost center for the whole organization. Any expense which is happening was under that bucket only, right? Any expense from an organization can be what? Electricity expenses, the salaries of people, right? The taxes, everything was going through a single cost center or a single bucket of things. Now, since the new CFO is there and Vijay is there, they understand, okay, we need to identify in our company what all are the waste expenses happening, what all type of expenses are happening. So what we'll do is everything and anything which is related to buying things and managing store, there could be a one cost center to that. Anything and everything which is related to human capital management, people management, their salaries, there could be one cost center, right? And anything and everything which is not falling under these two will fall under the third bucket, right? So those are cost centers. You define cost centers depending on your need. If you want to track certain expenses, where exactly these expenses are going from, because imagine that you are running a company. Initially, probably we'll be facing losses, right? Most likely we need to have money pulled in from everyone, where everyone is kind of burning cash. So we are paying salaries under a bucket where we are not earning money. But in future, as soon as we start earning money, right, there could be a certain accountability of managing stuff, right? And that's where these cost centers come into the picture, where we look at certain things and we identify, okay, this cost center is is able to manage expenses pretty nicely, and we are able to track everything, right? So that's where the concept of cost center is there. It is primarily a finance management kind of a thing, right? Cost center can be as simple as you manage your family, right? Whatever salary or whatever monthly expenses you guys have, right? You divide in certain buckets in general. You keep certain money just for safety and for any unwanted kind of an expense. You keep, let's say, $500 separately, or $100 separately, or $1,000 separately. You might have $500 for rent, decided that anything from a gas bill or electricity or whatever, we will take care in $500 or $1,000, right? Then you have $500 for your kids, additional expenses, education, going out, whatever. Then you have $500 for movies and restaurants, right? So divide your overall money into different buckets in different cost centers, and you consume that based on the need. There could be a scenario where, probably good example would be pandemic, right? People were not going out. That cost center, your overall external discretionary money, right, was not being spent, but you were spending that money somewhere else, right? Maybe medicines, vaccination, masks, whatever, right? Ordering food in, those kind of stuff. So suddenly you saw during pandemic, your expenses were reduced in some area, and in another area they were going up as well, right? Probably you were using just Netflix, now you have Prime, or you have certain additional things. So those kind of things are managed by finances and by different cost centers. So that's where the need of a cost center is there, and that would not be based on the hierarchy of the company. That would not be based on the hierarchy of the family. Your family, your husband, your wife, whatever, spouse, your kids, you don't divide your expenses based on people. Okay, so for my hubby, this is the money, that is how we'll manage it. For my kids, this is the money, right? For my wife, this is the money, right? You don't divide money based on family hierarchy. Similarly, you are not dividing your cost center based on the organization structure. That we are not dividing one cost center for Rishabh, one cost center for Siva, one cost center for Ashu, one cost center for Vijaya, right? We are not dividing like that. We are just dividing based on, different business needs. So that's pretty much a very high level overview. So cost center is HR family? No. So cost center is nothing but, it is just telling you that what is the way of managing the overall finances. And we'll talk about in detail what is cost center, but cost center is nothing but how do you track your expenses? You define your structure, right? This is again a finance based concept, but we'll cover in slides that what is the meaning of cost center from that perspective, right? So today what I'll do is I'll cover the basic concepts, and tomorrow in our next session, we'll go through the high level system things as well, right? And by the time, most likely you guys will get the access as well. So let me explain based on the slides and examples, because that would be helpful as well, because I've been giving certain examples from quite some time. Now let's talk about, concepts from a system perspective, right? So if you see here, we have covered everything technically. One thing which is missing is assigning roles. And once we go to that slide, we'll cover that again with our example, right? So organization overview, right? So if you talk about organization overview, again, this tells you different kind of structures in an organization, right? So if you see here, we decided, right, that Seva would be CEO. Under Seva, there would be 5 people, 6 people, whatever. So these are different ways of managing the overall organization. So that tells you the overall organization structure, right? Now, our organization can be defined using offices as well. How? We can define a company in California that our company is Banana Corp Private Limited or LLP or whatever, that is in California. But in Texas, we are starting a new company, which is under our main company, right? So the structure can be defined on a company basis as well. But from HR perspective, everything is defined on the basis of organization or supervisory organization, which we have covered that what is the meaning of that, right? So structure can be defined in multiple ways, but from HR solution perspective, supervisory organization is the key structure there. Okay. Now, this is interesting. If you see, like I said earlier, right? Supervisory organization or the team can have multiple people. That team can have multiple people working in multiple locations, right? Let's talk about that. So under Ashu, we had, let's say 10 managers. There are 5 managers working in California. There are 5 managers working in Texas. So these are under Ashu's supervisory organization, but they could be working from different regions. So within an organization, within Ashu's team, which is, HR enablement or HR optimization or people organization, in that team, there could be different people working from different regions, and there could be different cost centers applicable for them. We might have defined that people working in Texas, they will have, different cost center. People working in California, they'll have a different cost center. Why do we decide that we should have different cost centers? Probably in terms of ease of management, because Texas has a different tax law versus California. It becomes easier for the company or the organization to manage that, right? What are the colors? What do you mean by that? If you can explain.
See, Raj, here, yellow line, blue line, purple. So purple is the whole organization.
Yeah. Just yes. Let me explain that. So this is again, let's talk about Ashu's team, right? So this is Ashu's organization, let's say, right? In under that, there could be multiple supervisory organizations. This is one of the managers under Ashu, right? Which we have recently hired. So there could be certain people, and this is very, generic kind of a structure. There could be certain people in one team, which is called, supervisory Z, right? There could be certain people who are working in different regions, right? If you see, these 4 people can be in California, but these people can be in a different region. So it is just showing the structure or the combination of things, cross-functional nature of, overall things. For example, these people are falling under cost center X, then these people might be falling under different cost center. So this is just an example to show you how a team can be varying based on locations or based on cost centers. So the variations, it's just an example to show you that, nothing else, right? It is just telling you that a single team can have multiple people from different regions or different cost centers. right? So that is the only takeaway which I can suggest. The other takeaway would be, in the same team there would be people working from a different region and different cost center. That combination is decided based on the company hierarchy, so that you guys won't decide. You will get an input from the business, whoever is managing the overall company, that we need people under this team, we need people under that team, we need people under certain locations. You just have to follow that and maintain your structure. Okay, so that's pretty much very high level in terms of organization overview. So let's talk about the next thing. Now again, so we have different organizations, different team setup, right? There could be, now let's think of from a Workday side of things. So why do we define different teams? Why do we define different teams separately? Defining certain teams separately can have an important meaning. Now, what is the meaning? Let's talk about real world first, and then we'll talk about system again, right? Real world scenario. Ashu's team works only in the office space in our company, right? My team or Rishabh's team will be working in the store. So let's imagine a layout. There are two areas. One is office area, one is store area. Office area is just our main area where only the people managing the stuff are there, managing the company are there, the key people. And the store area is very open, where customers come in, where people manage stuff, right? There are our store people who manage stuff, stack up things and whatever, right? So the accesses would be different for different people, right? For example, in a company, we have certain accesses defined that person can go in one area only and not the other area, right? Think of a bank, right? In bank, if you see main areas or highly secured areas, only the key person can go, not everyone. A person standing in the front line, a person managing just the basic finances, or a clerk, initially entry level clerk, won't have an access to everything. Similarly, in Workday, you define different organizations for different purposes, similar to these organizations, right? You define that these people will have this much security. For example, anyone working under Ashu's team will have access to everyone's payroll, right? We define that anyone working in the finance team with Vijaya will have access to everyone's salary. Now anyone working under my team should have ability to enter time, because these are shift workers. So we define different organizations based on different rules, different business needs, different security. So they'll have different security, number one. And by security is access. In system and in real life as well, anyone working in one team will have different access to another team, right? So that is one. Second thing is reporting. In terms of reporting, in terms of getting out data, right? Let's say we are facing a very bad month and we realize, okay, there is some issue that people are not coming on time. We want to track that. What we'll do is we'll run out certain reports. Based on what? We should not be running the whole report for the whole company, right? We know that there is an issue with the store managers. Store managers are not just swiping in initially at 9 a.m. and then going out for lunch, and they're taking out, they're just keeping their cards or whatever, right? We see issue with their time management, right? They're not coming on time. How do we track that? We run a report in which organization? In that specific organization where people are there, right? So we define certain things based on certain organizations and business needs, right? Thirdly, we can have different business processes, right? Like what? We define that, people working in Texas, if they apply for a time off or a sick leave, they will need approval from the store manager, and they will need approval from our CEO as well, let's say, right? Now there could be a certain team which, let's say Ashu is very flexible. Ashu tells, you guys can apply for a time off. You don't have to tell me. There is no approval required. You just apply it in the time off in the system, and that's it. I don't worry too much about it, as long as you guys are managing everything internally and self-managing, right? So there could be different business processes defined based on different organizations, right? And that's where different organizations come into the picture, because we might not have the same logic everywhere. The logics vary based on certain things. The access vary based on certain things. The reporting requirement will vary based on certain things, right? So these all key areas are there where you have to think about it. Now, this is an interesting slide. Probably I'll take just 5 minutes to, for you to understand this one. And then we might take a quick 5-minute break and come back for certain additional topics. We'll just cover one more topic after this one, and then we'll meet tomorrow. But before that, let's look at this one. If you see here, there could be n number of organizations, right? Think about the complexity in which you can create multiple organizations, or the simplicity as well, right? Organization is nothing but a place to group people and a way to group people, right? HR organization types. We talked about supervisory, where the hierarchy is straightforward, that a manager is reporting to me, and that manager is having 5 people under him or her. And that is what a supervisory organization can be, right? A matrix organization is where people can have different relationship under the overall organization structure. And I'll share a link with you guys. You should also read about it, that what is the meaning of a matrix organization. In simple terms, matrix organization is nothing but, it is just an organization where the overall hierarchy is not one-to-one. It can vary. Person can be reporting to me 50%, and the sequence can be that the same person can be reporting to a different team as well. So that person can be a common person managing 2 different teams or reporting to 2 different teams. So in terms of structure overall, an employee can have one manager which is in California, but the person might be working with the Texas manager, right? So those kind of structures are called matrix organizations. I'll give you again, documented link to that, so that you understand what is the meaning of matrix organization. But high level, anything which is non-linear will fall under matrix organization, right? But in general, if you see, every organization won't have this structure. Only specific ones will have very limited usage in the real world. Now, there could be an organization defined for retirees. Whoever is retiring from our company, we need to keep a track of that. We have created a separate structure because our company policy says that we will pay them on a yearly basis certain number of shares, right? So we might want to track the overall number of retirees in our company, right? So that's where you can have a separate structure as well defined for retirees, right? Now, again, there could be a location hierarchy. For example, our California office is the main headquarter. Then under that, Texas is there. Under that, Singapore is there. Under that, Macau is there. Under that, Beijing is there. Under that, London is there, right? So that hierarchy can vary, right? In terms of overall locations. So there are multiple structures, but the key structure where people sit in is the supervisory one. So in real world, you'll be talking about supervisory changes only, but these are good to know concepts, right? Now there are different additional organization types, which are, committee, academic unit, union, talent pool, location, whatever. So you can have your own way of defining certain things, right? So you define, let's say we expand as a team and we define there are 4 different teams in our company for fun events, right? So team red, team blue, team green, team yellow, right? These are different ways of categorizing people again. Team red will focus on one of the initiatives in the company. Let's say we are, helping the poor, right? That is one of the initiatives that every month or every week or every quarter we help the poor. And so these people who are there in the red team are kind of going out and helping others in terms of, NGOs and whatever, in terms of helping people out. There could be certain team which is focused towards waste management. They might go out to beaches and clear out certain things, right? There could be a certain team which might have a certain different objectives. So you can define your own structure and own custom organization. Now in manufacturing world, there are unions as well, right? People reporting, they take care of their own teams and whatever. There could be a cricket club in the team, right? There could be a basketball club, baseball club. So those can be a structure in the team right? There could be people who are focused towards certain activity, and the company is also promoting that, and that's where that structure is also defined, right? But again, in real world, that is very limited, right? In real world, supervisory is the key one, and probably the next one would be location hierarchy. Now, if you see here, there are so many costing hierarchies. These fall under the finance side of things, not for you. These are primarily on the finance, Workday finance side of things, or in general finance, that how do you define the company structure? California is our main company, then Texas is another company, being created, and there are other companies as well. Cost center hierarchy. Again, we talked about that in detail, that what is the meaning of cost center and cost center hierarchy, right? Region-based hierarchy, right? You could have a region for overall namer, right? North America can be one, then there could be Asia separate region, there could be Middle East separate region, all those things. So that is how you define certain organizations. Then finally, pay group as well, and that is an interesting one for you guys to know. Again, this is very specific to payroll module, but since we have people from different areas, let me explain that. Payroll module is nothing but anything and everything which is related to managing the payroll of the people, salary of the people. You define certain people based on what? Their way of working. There could be people working in the office space who are working, who get a fixed monthly salary. Then there could be a certain group who work on a shift basis, they get a bi-weekly salary. So in US, there's a concept of bi-weekly salary, but in, let's say, in Asia or in a lot of countries, there is a monthly pay group, right? So you define based on your needs that these people will get salary on a monthly basis, these people will get on a bi-weekly basis, or these people will get based on certain commissions, right? Our sales people will have salary based on certain commissions. So you define certain things very high level. These are again varying in different areas, but for you to understand from HCM side of things, there is only one which is there, which is talking about HR organization, which is supervisory, right? So that is very high level, which is there, right? In terms of thinking that how could people be organized in certain way, right? That is the simple thing. Organization is nothing but grouping people in certain ways. That's it. And there could be certain ways in terms of defining, but in real world, you just define and focus on supervisory organization only. These are good to have. These are anyways good to have, but again, depending on the business need. For example, you don't have finance in your or payroll in your Workday system, then you don't have to worry too much about pay groups. You don't have to worry about these multiple organization types. You just have to focus on only one, which is the supervisory organization, or probably location, right? So that is how you have to think from your perspective, that what is the meaning of supervisory organization, and what is the meaning of organization in general. So again, this would be again a good interview question, that what is the meaning of organization and how do you define organization? What could be different ways of defining an organization, right? And how do you manage that, right? So again, let's think about our example there, that how do you define an organization is based on business need and certain functional needs. There are only three reasons or three helpful areas on which you define your organization and use it for, right? You define it for your security, reporting, and business process, right? And by business process, it is the overall sequence of events as well. So you define your organization based on what exactly your business is needing as well, right? So that is how you define organizations, right? So that is a lot of examples. So before taking a quick 5-minute break, or do you guys have any question right now in terms of understanding, or any question is there? So we did cover the basic concept of organization. I see Vijaya, you raised hand. Go ahead.
My question is not regarding organizations. My question is cost center.
Okay, go ahead.
You said main location is the first part, right? So if it is a big companies like Google, Amazon, like that, they were looking for location first. What about startup companies? What they're first thing, cost center or location? See, depends on their budget, right?
No, see, cost center, cost center is nothing but a way of tracking expenses. So for startup, let's say you have only 5 people or 10 people. You should not be worried too much about that, how exactly the expenses are being managed. You have a funding or you have a limited budget and you manage that within the overall cost center. Cost center is nothing but a label of money going out or money coming in, nothing else, right? So a startup will be having, an office, let's say anywhere. The cost center can be one only. They don't have to worry too much about managing. So cost center is nothing but way of managing or labeling money, right? They might have just one cost center initially, just to manage and track expenses. But if they're expanding in multiple areas, then you should have multiple cost centers. Why do you need multiple cost centers? Is to manage money, right? That how exactly the money is coming in and flowing in, how much you are how much are the expenses, how much is the salaries given, right? How much we are paying in taxes, right? So in terms of managing all that, you have to think about cost center, that why do we need that? Again, this is a finance based decision. Usually that is not business driven. Initially whatever is decided from a company level, that how should we track our overall expenses, right? Because a company in future will be looking at multiple areas, that how money is going in, and they will try to save money as well, right? They might say, okay, salaries is a fixed component, taxes are fixed component, but I see that we are utilizing a lot of electricity, right? There could be an issue. So they might decide there could be a decision that we might use solar panels in our stores, right? Because in the long term it is cheaper. So that cost center initially was utilizing a lot of money. Now after utilizing solar panels initially, slowly the overall cost is getting down. So the reason behind defining a cost center is very unique based on the business function, right? So startup might not worry too much about it. Their focus should be just about getting the product out and getting the right visibility and getting the right customers. So they could be using one cost center as well. But let's say they are defining initially that we want to have a separate way of handling things, then they could have two cost centers as well. Think about Mark Zuckerberg when he initially conceptualized Facebook, right? He and his friend, they were taking care of it. They don't worry too much about it. Cost center is what? Their wallet. Their whatever money they are spending is the cost center. It is just the tracking that how much they might be spending using their credit cards or current account or savings account. But as soon as they expand, they become a company, they might start tracking certain things, right? They might tracking expenses. So that's where the role of cost center comes into the picture, right? Vijay, that was helpful, or any doubts?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. So what we'll do is take a quick 5-minute break. And once we come back, we'll just cover one topic before we wrap up. Think about everything what we covered, because it's an important concept. That's why I'm kind of keeping the session a bit longer and much more detailed. Let's take a quick 5-minute break, and then we can come back, right? Or do you want a bigger break? That is also fine, like probably 7 or 8 minutes. Anything is fine as for you guys. Let me share, probably, I won't take a lot of time. I do understand this is pretty new for everyone, for most of you, but, I just wanted to give certain, probably I'll cover, till slide 16, which is talking about just the supervisory organization. Since we have covered that, I'll explain that in a detailed way, because that reinforces our understanding. Reason being, I'm expanding the session a little bit more from the usual attention span kind of an approach, where I keep the sessions pretty light in general, so that you are able to take bite-sized. Today I'm keeping it a bit longer for you to kind of combine certain things, right? Because I don't want to rush into things as well, where I teach a lot of things initially where you might get confused, right? So it's more of a bite-sized approach. That's why we'll cover only 3-4 slides today, but these are important 3-4 slides, right? Now, let's go back to our previous one. So we were here talking about different organizations. The structure can be uniquely varying, right? So let me give you a different perspective of things, right? So we defined our company based out of California. We defined everything, and then we moved to Texas, right? That could be in structure. Now our team structure technically can vary big time in a different way as well, right? we can have, structure in location varying or in supervisory as well varying, right? We decide that, everyone is equal partner, right? Initially, we pool in $50,000 equally, and we decide everyone is playing the role of everyone, right? We are startup kind of a company. We are not starting a store. We are starting a tech company, right? What we are doing is a copy of Instagram or WhatsApp, right? That is our objective, right? That is what we are trying to do. So our roles will not vary based on hierarchies. Everyone will be an equal partner. So our team structure would not be, a lot of horizontal, it would be vertical. Probably we'll define, no one as the CEO and everyone is an equal partner, right? And the structure would be horizontal in nature, and there would be limited people. So for your understanding, every big organization in this world will have a very long vertical structure where difference between a CEO to a member who's joining in the team, there could be 10 levels in between, right? Under CEO, there could be a CTO. Under CTO, there could be a chief tech officer, tech architect. Under tech architect, there could be 5 different managers managing different teams globally. Under that, there could be 10 different managers. Under that, probably senior directors are there, then directors are there, then managers, senior managers are there, then managers are there, then team leads are there, then different team members are there, and then finally interns are there. So the structure is very, very, very deep, right? In terms of overall structure, the length of, someone moving from that level to the top is very, very far, right? But let's talk about a small organization where it is very lean, a startup. There could be only few people initially, let's say 50 people who are the key team members. Under that, only 50 team members are there. For someone to move up the ladder, it is very straightforward, right? So the structure varies based on different kind of organizations, different business functions as well, right? There could be an area, there could be a company where they don't believe in managers, right? They believe in everyone's equality. So they don't have a lot of managers, but there are different levels in terms of different teams. Only limited number of managers could be there, right? There are companies in this world that they are following a different approach where they believe that every team member is a partner or an equal shareholder. So they don't believe in hierarchies, right? You find very big companies as well having smaller hierarchies, right? So that is what companies define based on their mission and vision, and how they want to give people the hierarchy, right? They give people that overall process in place, right? In terms of managing stuff. So it varies based on a lot of business functions. That's what I wanted to convey. Now, last topic of the day is again supervisory organization. What is the meaning of supervisory organization from a textbook perspective, from a knowledge perspective, from a definition perspective, right? So again, I told you supervisory organization is the foundation of HCM. If you're starting a building, right, the key area or the foundation, right, under your ground floor, where you set up to make the house very strong, that is the key thing. If supervisory structure is wrong, then whole workday will go for a toss. If supervisory function is right, then it becomes very, very easier to manage. So that is the foundation. Now, again, in the real world, once you go into the job market, mostly the companies will have a structure already, right? They are already live in the world. They already have a structure in place, right? They will have a defined structure, and the changes to structure are very minimal as well, right? Any change happening in the structure would be very minimal, right? People moving out or teams changing would be very limited. These are very bigger changes where someone, whole team is moving to a different level and all that. There could be minor changes, but in general, there would not be a lot of majority of the changes, right? So that's one. Another thing is they define worker, and by worker is anyone who is an employee or a contractual worker or a contractor. The worker term in Workday is defining every possible type of employee, contractor, or an individual in the company. So worker is a generic term, right? Supervisory organization's purpose is to define different people into different buckets. So let's take an example that, we have expanded to Texas, then we expanded to China, then Singapore, then Malaysia, then Japan, then UK, right? London, Dublin, whatever. You have defined, and now we are a big, strong company, right? We have grown from the day of conceptualization in April 2022, and now it is 2030, right? 8 years down the line, we have grown so big. We are as big as Walmart, let's say, right? Now you define that, whoever was the initial team members, whoever are the key team members, whoever is a senior manager and above, or whoever is a managing team, we will give them a bonus of $100,000. Let's say the company is defining. How do you identify those people? You already have a structure in place. You can run a report that if a person is manager, please show me the name, right? And that name would be available, right? If a person has, is working from Texas, we'll give them $500 as a food coupon for the month, right? That is a gift. So how do you define all that? How do you run certain things is based on your structure only. Think of a scenario that you want to find certain people. Let's take an example again, very, very different example. The company decides that, on Women's Day, whoever is working in California, they'll give them $100, of a coupon. And, probably if they're working from Texas, then the decision is to give them $75 as a gift card, right? So there are two different strategies being in place. If someone is working in California, what we are suggesting is $100 of a gift card. But in Texas, we are saying $75, right? And the people decided, the Texas management decided, we don't want a gift card because in Texas, the taxes are very less. So if you get that in our paycheck, that would be wonderful. So on a bi-weekly period, let's say upcoming bi-weekly period, they'll get $75 extra in their paycheck, and they will use that for whatever they want. But in California, we decide, no, if we add that $100 to their check, then it would be taxable and it would be a huge expense. Just to manage tax, we decide for California guys, we will give them an Amazon gift card or whatever, right? A generic gift card. Now you want to run a report. You are sitting in Ashu's team, right? Ashu is managing payroll and HR. We want to run a report for the organization. Our organization's report would be defined based on what? Number one, location, that if someone is working in California, it should give up that. If someone is working in Texas, it should give that output. Now, the other problem is gender as well, right? Because we are only giving it for those employees who are female, right? So we need to have additional attribute added on top of our report that only when the gender is female and the person's location is California, show me the output. Only when the location is Texas and the gender is female, show me the output, right? So if you see, tying back to the initial thing, your reporting is very crucial based on the organization structure. Clear? So that's where the overall grouping or the management hierarchy comes into the picture, right? Now, a supervisory organization can be a business unit, can be a department, can be a group, can be a project, right? You can define supervisory organization based on multiple ways. Now, how exactly? Again, coming back to a store example, we can define based on the function that one team is HR team, one team is finance team, one team is operations team, one team is kind of managing the overall probably maintenance and everything. There are 4 different teams. Now we can define our structure based on a different logic. How exactly? We can define our structure based on, a team can be called, process excellence. That team, process excellence sounds fancy, but in reality, what they are doing is managing the store only. There could be a team managing people expertise. What exactly is people expertise? Nothing but we are managing people expectations. There could be a team managing overall finances, right? The name can be fancy, can be different, can be unique, right? We define that everything and anything related to finance and people is just one team, right? So there could be a cost center based on that. There could be a structure based on that. So it can vary based on different logics, but again, it depends on how do we define our overall structure. Now, every company in this world defines certain structure, right? Let's compare two different companies which are exactly similar to each other, right? Probably we can take an example of, let's take an example of Amazon, right? Amazon, with any tech company in this world, Amazon is so huge that they have everything possible. Let's compare Amazon and Salesforce, right? They are in the equal market, but they have different variations to it, right? Now, Amazon is having a delivery network as well, but Salesforce is not. But Amazon is having a strong CRM. Amazon is having AWS, but Salesforce is not. So the way they define their structure is varying based on the different business needs, right? So that variation comes under, supervisory organization, that how do they define different teams, right? So that's one. Now, that's a very good point which is mentioned. So supervisory organization is just the layout, right? It just tells you that, okay, these are the teams, but under that, there are different things. What all important things are there? The things which we covered in the first session. Anyone under, any team. For example, if someone is joining under my team, right? There is a position required. There should be an open position, then only that person can join. We define a position based on two models, position management and job management, which we'll cover later. But we should have a position defined for someone joining in my team, number one. Number two, there would be a set compensation defined for them, right? There could be $20 per hour, $30 per hour, whatever. If it's a worker who tracks time, but there could be people working under Ashu's team. They are not tracking time. They are key HR experts. There could be a CHRO under Ashu, right? That person is not getting paid on a hourly basis. That is a fixed salary. So the compensation also varies based on different supervisory organizations, and the position also varies, and exactly the role and the job profile will vary as well. Someone joining an HR team, that job profile will be very different from someone joining, Rishabh's team as well, or my team, right? So that is the variation which is under supervisory organization. Imagine supervisory organization to be big bucket. Under that, there are different additional things under that, right? Now, this is interesting. So business process is nothing but the sequence of events, right? Anything from a sequence of events, let's say someone applying a time off, someone applying for a maternity leave, someone requesting something, someone requesting a advance salary, someone requesting a change of manager, right? Someone requesting a change of location, someone requesting change of their SSN, someone requesting a change of their address. Whatever is the transaction from a business need, that can be defined at the supervisory organization level, or you can define at the company level as well, overall tenant level as well. I gave an example already on that someone requesting certain things. Ashu might be a very flexible leader where we are not, asking, requesting for approvals and all that. But probably Rishabh and I are very much focused because we have a large team to manage. We want every approval to go through us. Anyone requesting something, we define that if anything is requested under us, then we will approve it. First level, I'll approve it, and then it will go to Rishabh, and then it will go to CEO, right? So that sequence we define based on different organizations, right? So usually the variation is not there in general. The whole company follows a certain process, but if you define certain logic, obviously we can do that. We can obviously define that, for example, in US, we don't want an approval process, but let's say in Singapore, we define that we need an approval process there, right? So that could be the variations of a business process, right? We can define certain logic to it, and that's where variations come into the picture. But a lot of organizations right now have similar strategies and process in place globally, considering we want equality across the globe. That's where a lot of companies have the same policy, the same structure of business processes. Obviously, the policies will vary. That someone getting how many annual leaves or holidays, that varies obviously based on state and government laws. But overall business process sequence can be same or different, right? So that is how we use that supervisory structure to define that as well. Now, this is an interesting one. Good that we covered certain things initially. This is a typical supervisory organization structure. So this is executive management, probably some manager, sitting at top. Let's think of Rishabh here, right? Rishabh is here in terms of manager, HR operations, and he is reporting to our CEO, right, on top. Now under Rishabh, there are 4 people, right? But Susan is there, Kelly is there, James is there. They might have certain people under them, or they might be independent managers as well, right? It is not always that we have certain people under them. There could be people who are just working as individual contributor. If you see here, there is an interesting thing here. It is an open position, right? Now this open position most likely is very specific. This specific that it is reporting to this team, and there is a certain attribute to it, there is a certain feature to it, right? So that is also there, right? So you define certain things based on different. So if we know that under Rishabh there is an open position, then we already know that what is the role, what is the expectation, what is the job profile, right? So a single team can have an open position or a closed people sitting at this. So these positions are occupied, this position is occupied, this position is occupied, this one is also occupied. 3 of them are already occupied, but one of them is empty, where we are looking for hiring people, right? Now under Susan, if you see one of the managers, there are different people, right? This is a global support team where they probably are managing customer support or whatever. Under that, if you see, there are different people, right? There are 3 different people or members are there, and by member, these are not managers, these are just individual contributors, and there is one open position again, right? Now let's take an example. What is the difference between this specific person and this one or this one, right? What is the difference between these two? If you see, is there a difference apart from the name? What is the difference between these two? Between Manny and Maya, what is the difference? They are reporting to the same manager, but they are kind of different. What could be the reason?
Here C is there. C means, I don't know, is it called temporary employee or something?
Perfect. So C tells you contingent worker. So these are all full-time employees. These are reporting to Susan. Maya is C. If you see, in general, this term is being used in Workday. If you identify someone having this under their brackets in the name, in general, in Workday, we define like that identifies that this is a contractual employee. That person is not a full-time employee. That person is based on the need. Why do we need contractual employees? We might need that people or that person for a limited time, number one, or it might be more prudent or logical for the company to have a contractual employee. For example, let's say Amazon is trying to build a car similar to Tesla, right? Cybertruck, they liked it a lot, and they're trying it big time. Let's say Apple is building a car, which they are actually technically, from what I've heard. So let's say Apple is building a car and they hire a lot of engineers, right, from Tesla, but they need experts in there for certain time, or they need people in the factory for certain time. They know that they need these people only for limited time, not forever. That's where contractual team members are hired, right? For example, I work as a contractor for a lot of organizations where I support them for Workday, right? I'm an independent contractor or consultant where I come in, I get a project, I talk to them, I understand things, I get the work done, I tell the team and go out. I get billed out for 2 or 3 months, whatever is the time frame, or 6 months, whatever. And then I go out. So for the time being, I'm a contractual employee to a certain manager, but in future I might not be. Or if they like my services, they can think of keeping my contract forever or in future, or they might think that let's convert this employee to a full-time employee as well, right? So that is where in general these things come into the picture. But for you to understand in the organization structure, these C in parentheses or brackets is essential, right? So I'm giving a lot of examples because I do understand not everyone is from HR background. So I'm kind of keeping or deviating sometimes from the topic, but that is just for your understanding, right? So that is the meaning of a contractual employee in general, or contractors, right? So we use different terms in different companies, but if you see the structure, we do have an open position here as well, which shows someone under Susan is kind of, there is a need of it. There could be two reasons for open position. One, person has left and we are backfilling that person, or there is a need that, there is so much of workload that we are unable to manage this team and we are hiring new person, right? So that could be a reason. Now imagine that Susan is leaving as well, right? Susan decides to leave the organization, right? She got an amazing offer and she's going out, right? Now what should we do? We do not have a manager immediately to backfill Susan, right? There could be multiple ways. Automatically, if this position, Susan's position becomes blank. So everyone under Susan's team will indirectly report to Max, right? To the executive management indirectly, because there is no one in between. Or we might decide, Kelly is a strong team member working from quite some time. Let's make Kelly the manager. Now everyone under Susan who were there will move under Kelly's organization, right? So there could be multiple reasons, which is similar to real world. If a manager is leaving, the people can move to a different manager, or they might move to a senior manager as well, right? So the sequence or the transactions vary in all shape, forms, sizes, but just for your understanding, there could be certain reasons, right? Now this is an example, and next tomorrow we'll look at from a system perspective as well. Now this is probably a good structure. If you see, there is someone at the top, then there are multiple people, different teams, and I'll show you in the system. I know this slide is not so good, but surely I would recommend to go through it in the slides just to understand, that what is the meaning of this hierarchy. I know it would be smaller, but just for your understanding, very high level, it is talking about different and a CEO sitting at top, right? And CEO having different teams: sales, marketing, information technology, HR, finance, and admin. Under finance, there could be multiple people in multiple departments, right? Similar to what we have discussed. The locations of everyone is San Francisco, San Fran, but it varies as well, right? It could very well vary depending on the company, right? So this is a generic overall structure in the system, right? Which I'll show you tomorrow as well, that how exactly it looks like. And again, this is nothing to memorize or too much worry about. These are, you will find all possible structures in future as well. And once I give you hands-on as well, I'll tell you to review certain structures, right? I'll ask you questions like who is under that manager or how many people are there and those kind of stuff. So that's my plan as of now, for you to look at the tenant as well. Last topic, and before that, like after that, we'll wrap up, because assignable role is something I'll talk about in the next session. Now the features of a supervisory organization. Last topic for the day today. I'll probably take 5 or 10 more minutes. We have already covered these things, but just for your understanding and reinforcing that, I'm doing that, right? So supervisory organizations, right? The positions, anyone who is getting hired. So the position can be created under some supervisory organization, some department, some team only. It cannot be like that you are creating supervisory organization out of the world, or disconnected, that it is, we don't know that where exactly we'll put that in. You should have at least few attributes defined to it, that under which manager, under which team you are defining that position, right? Under which overall department, at least. If you are not so clear about manager, you should know that, okay, under which department at least, right? Under which cost center, right? That's clear or not, right? I want a dialogue as well from you guys as well, because I do understand and appreciate that a lot of you are learning as well, right? These are very new to you guys, very different from the usual things, right? So probably you guys can chip in as well and share your thoughts. Till now, everything is clear or not, right? Any doubts before I move on again?
It's clear.
Awesome. I assume silence is good, but good to verify, because this batch which I'm taking right now, I find everyone to be a different level. So I just want to have a holistic approach where I initially give a very low dose and then keep it high, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. But if you feel any issues as well, feel free to reach out. Now, in positions, we are clear that, okay, we need to have a position under a supervisory organization. That's number one. Employees must be hired under a supervisory organization, right? And employees and workers are used interchangeably. employees are usually termed as full-time employees, but workers are in general contractuals and full-time. So people use the terms very differently. You should be cautious enough. What you should do in your real world is, if you talk about employees, add full-time employees versus contractual employees. That way you are not confused between workers and employees and whatever. In general, in workday space, talk about like that, right? Full-time employees is something who are full-time permanent members. Contractual employees are part-time, right? So that's how you can discuss and talk in general in the real world, because for someone the meaning of employee can vary. They might think employee means everyone who's working, but in real world that's different, right? So just telling you that as a pro tip kind of an approach, because as soon as you enter this world, someone will tell you, I'm not able to find the worker, I'm not able to find the employee, right? Then you could be confused. Is he or she asking just for the full time, just for contractuals? So your immediate question should be, are you talking about full-time employees or contractual employees? Then you are clear that what is needed, right? So those kind of stuff. Now, moving on. So again, we have talked about these two things. You define certain roles for each and every supervisory organization. This we'll cover anyways in the next session. But you define certain roles that under Rushabh's team, under my team, under anyone's team, what would be the key roles? Who would be our HR partner? Who would be our manager? Who would be support people supporting us, right? There are support roles defined under any supervisory organization. A supervisory organization can have manager in place, can have the overall hierarchy in place, but support roles are defined at the supervisory level, and which we'll talk about tomorrow. That how do we add additional things? Because my team or Ashu's team, the same HR partner cannot be there. Same absence admin, same benefits admin cannot be there. There could be different admins managing our teams, and those things we define at the organization level, right? We'll talk about it tomorrow, but that is something to keep in mind. Lastly, I talk about you can have a unique business process set for your specific supervisory organization as well. That one team's structure can vary from another, right? Now, a supervisory organization can have different subtypes. It can have a subtype called division or department. There are multiple ways of defining that. Tomorrow we'll talk about how do you define 3 different types of supervisory organization, which is department, division, and team. Again, don't confuse it with other things. Just think that if you want to identify or specify some organization as a department or a division, you can do that. But what people do is keep it very simple and keep it at supervisory organization level only. So there are ways of managing it. We can talk about it. But again, for your understanding, organization means a hierarchy where people are hired, having positions, having attributes, having roles, and it varies based on certain attributes. Don't worry too much about department, division, and team. I'll again cover it tomorrow. These again are different types of supervisory organization, nothing else, right? One important thing which we need to cover tomorrow is, which is the next slide, is talking about different roles, right? Different roles are important in each and every supervisory organization, and how do we define that? We'll talk about that. And what is the meaning of role in general? Because someone might get confused that what is the meaning of role, right? What do you mean by role in general, right? Role is nothing but different attributes to a position, right? Someone's an HR manager. What is the role, right? To manage team, to do certain activities. Someone is payroll manager, payroll admin. What is the role, right? So those kind of things we'll talk about tomorrow, and we'll look at the tenant as well. We have covered 50% of module 2 till now, but the key thing would be on the tenant side of things as well. We will surely cover that. So that is pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I know it was a big kind of a session, but since the topics were together and initially we went through a example, hope it was helpful. Before wrapping it up, any doubts, anyone? I see Vijay, you have your hands up. Do you have any question?
Yes. See, if you take tenant access and show me, then it's easy to understand.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. For sure. We'll do that. Tomorrow is the plan to look at the tenant. See, tenant is just a transaction which you can do in any system. I'm telling you that. See, understanding the basic concepts is really, really important, because no one would be telling you, okay, open the tenant, show me how do you do this transaction in the real world, right? You can do that in 1,000 different ways, right? If you ask me to code, a calculator in Java, I can do it in 5 minutes, right? But if you ask me what is the meaning of object oriented programming, right, I should have an answer. So in the real world, doing transactions or doing configuration is second. Trust me, that is very, very easy to do. There is a community. Once you get into the system, you will be able to figure it out. The first thing is understanding of basic concepts, right? Because I do understand not everyone is from HR world, right? So, there could be questions on basic things in real world. No one would be telling you create this role, create this supervisory organization, move this manager under that. That is not how interviews are done in the real world. If you ask me, I'll ask, I take a lot of interviews. I hire people in different organizations. The first question should be, what do you mean by HCM in general, right? If it's an entry level job, initial, when you're starting your workday career, the kind of questions which I'll have is, and which are there in the market as well, is what do you mean by supervisory organizations, right? How do we manage that? What is the meaning of a job profile? What is the meaning of a position, right? What is the meaning of a location? Why we have different cost centers and different supervisory organizations, right? Why do we have different structures in the place, right? Why cannot we have both of them together? So surely we'll talk about system level things tomorrow for sure. But initial plan of the session is to give you reinforcements on concepts as well, right? Because if someone is not aware about a position and job profile or a supervisory organization, then going to the system is just transaction, right? So I'll prefer to have a lot of conceptual discussions as well, and system based as well. Tomorrow we'll look at system in a detailed way. That will again reinforce. But for every topic, I'll prefer to have a discussion initially, because otherwise it would be difficult, just to look at a system and then do it. But we'll surely think of that perspective as well. If you guys think that we should have a system based approach initially and then talk about concepts, that also can be done, or in parallel. But probably the best thing would be, since not everyone is very expert in HR tech or HR terminologies, right? So that's where Vijaya, I'm trying to have the conceptual things. For sure, we'll cover all this in system. I'll show you supervisory organization. I'll show you, different positions. I'll show you how transactions are being done, right? That is the plan for tomorrow, certain things. Because my plan is to close out on module 2 tomorrow and then show you the tenant as well, that how exactly supervisory organization looks like, right? So that's the plan for tomorrow. Surely we'll cover that. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Anyway, you are going to post all these your slides and all, right? Pictures.
Yes, slides are already there, so don't worry about materials. If you see your LMS, like I told you initially at the starting of the session, I requested everyone to let me share that right away, and let's talk about that in just a minute so that it is clear for everyone. And this would be anyways, so you will be getting the recording of everything, don't worry. You do have this access, right, of our LMS. If you don't have this access, please reach out to info@ZaranTech.com. Most likely you will receive that, or reach out to anyone from our support team. They will surely help you with that. So this, if you see different tabs here, let me take you through certain tabs. If you see here, our upcoming classes tomorrow, right? So it will tell you the overall schedule of different sessions. This one will have all the recordings. This tab materials is having everything what we are covering, right? So we have completed module 1. It would have module 2 as well, which we are going through, and different assignments as well, right? So everything is there. Discussion board, again, this one I'll surely want you guys to update the settings and make to subscribe to page changes, because I'll be posting certain things right in here for your better learning and understanding, right? This would be an area to coordinate. You can reach out, you can go through it, that there are certain rules behind it, but this would be an area where you can coordinate and use that. So everything from a recording to material, everything is there in this LMS, and you should be able to access that. If you don't have an access, send out an email to info@ZaranTech, or anyone from our support team whom you have contacted initially, and they will surely help you out. All right. Thanks, guys. We are just at the right time to wrap it up. Have a good one. Have a good restful day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Before wrapping up, any questions? I see Chaitanya going on unmute. Yeah.
Pretty clear.
Awesome. Thank you. So my approach is very different from a lot of trainers. Reason being, you guys are pretty new. So I'm kind of using a different way of teaching. So this technique I used with one of the colleges actually, where they were teaching Workday. So similar kind of an approach I'm using. Hope you guys like it. And if you have any questions, again, we can talk tomorrow and discuss. I'll initially have 5 to 10 minutes of a recap again tomorrow, right? Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the day. And if you're based out of any region where it's morning, have a good one. And see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raj.
Thanks, Raj. Bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.